What if I told you that some of the foods sitting quietly on your shelf right now, the ones you've trusted for years, the ones that made life a little easier when cooking felt like too much, could be silently sabotaging your health? What if that quick can of soup, that emergency tuna, or that sweet fruit cup wasn't as harmless as you've always believed? You see, there's a hidden truth in those shiny metal cans. For decades, they've been symbols of convenience: open, heat, and eat. But after 60, your body no longer sees them the same way. What used to be handy can now be harmful. What once kept you full might now be fueling inflammation, joint pain, or that relentless rise in blood pressure you've been trying to control. The reality is this: as we age, everything about the body changes. Your kidneys, your liver, your digestive system, they all begin to move a little slower. Your cells don't filter toxins as efficiently. Your arteries aren't as forgiving. The sodium, preservatives, and metals that your body could once shrug off at 40 now linger longer, do more damage, and quietly wear you down from the inside. And the food industry knows it. They dress up these cans with comforting labels: heart healthy, high in protein, packed with vegetables. But what they don't tell you is that the sodium levels inside a single can of soup could exceed your entire day's limit. Or that some cans still leach chemicals like BPA, compounds that can mimic estrogen and disrupt your hormones, especially in older adults. So you eat what you think is safe. You trust what the label says. And meanwhile, your body's internal alarm bells start ringing. Slower digestion, bloating that doesn't make sense, energy dips that come out of nowhere, memory that feels just a little foggier each week. But here's where it gets even more concerning. Those preservatives that keep food fresh can alter your gut bacteria, the very foundation of your immunity and digestion. And after 60, when your microbiome is already more delicate, that disruption can ripple across your entire system. It can affect how you absorb nutrients, how you fight off illness, and even how your brain communicates with your body. It's not that canned food is evil. It's that your body has changed, and it's now reacting differently to the same foods it once tolerated. That's the part no one talks about. The hidden danger isn't in the can itself, it's in how it silently overwhelms an aging system that's already working overtime to keep you balanced. But here's the good news: knowledge changes everything. Because when you understand which canned foods harm you, you also discover which ones can actually help you heal. And that's exactly what we're going to uncover today. In this video, you'll learn the 7 canned foods that can slowly destroy your heart, your brain, and your immune system, and 2 that are not only safe, but can actually support your health, protect your cells, and restore your energy. You'll finally see why some foods you thought were healthy could be the reason you're feeling older than you are, and how just a few smart changes in your pantry can reverse that trend and help you feel alive again. Senior, I need you to understand that this video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your doctor or qualified health provider before making any changes to your diet, supplements, or lifestyle, especially if you have existing medical conditions or take prescribed medications. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at canned food the same way again. You'll know exactly what to avoid and what to reach for instead. Because what you think is saving you time might actually be stealing time from your life. Let's talk honestly for a moment, not as a doctor to a patient, but as someone who truly wants you to understand what's happening inside your body right now. Because once you see the full picture, you'll never again look at a can of food the same way. At 40, your body was still forgiving. Your liver, your kidneys, your metabolism, they were strong, resilient, able to process excess salt, sugar, and preservatives without much complaint. You could eat a can of soup, a few slices of processed meat, maybe even chase it with something sweet, and by morning, your system would quietly reset itself. But after 60, everything changes. Your organs, those silent guardians that have protected you for decades, begin to slow down. Not because they're failing, but because time has simply worn them thin. Your liver, which once filtered toxins with ease, now takes longer to clear chemical residues. Your kidneys, the body's natural filters, start to lose efficiency, and suddenly, sodium, nitrates, and heavy metals that would have passed unnoticed before now linger in your bloodstream. That's why a single can of soup that felt harmless at 40 can now trigger a sudden spike in blood pressure at 65. It's not that your body has turned against you, it's that your system is now more sensitive, more reactive. It's asking for gentler nourishment, and you're giving it chemicals disguised as food. Let's break that down. Inside most canned foods, you'll find sodium levels that can reach a staggering 1,000 milligrams, sometimes more, in just one serving. For a younger person with strong kidney function, that might not matter. But for seniors, your kidneys struggle to flush out the excess, and your blood pressure rises to compensate. The fluid retention builds. Slowly, in your ankles, your joints, even your chest, and you start to feel heavier, puffier, more tired without knowing why. And then there's the chemical side, the silent threat that doesn't taste salty or sweet. I'm talking about BPA, or bisphenol A, the compound that lines the inside of many cans. It was designed to prevent rust, to keep food fresh. But what we've learned is that BPA doesn't just stay in the can. It seeps into the food itself, especially when that food is acidic, like tomatoes or fruit cocktails. Once inside your body, BPA mimics estrogen, a hormone that plays a powerful role in regulating metabolism, mood, and cell growth. For younger adults, the effects might be subtle. But after 60, when your natural hormone balance is already delicate, BPA acts like an intruder. It can throw your system into disarray, contributing to weight gain, fatigue, memory issues, and even a higher risk of hormone-related cancers. And yet, the labels tell you everything's fine. You see words like low-fat, heart-healthy, or packed with protein. But here's what those phrases really mean in the food industry. They're distractions. Low-fat often means higher sodium. Heart-healthy might mean we added synthetic vitamins after we stripped the natural ones out. Packed with protein might mean it's preserved with nitrates or stored in canola oil that's long since oxidized. Your body knows the difference. It knows the difference between real food and factory food. And after 60, that difference becomes the line between waking up energized or waking up inflamed. Between mental clarity and that fog that makes you feel like you're walking through a cloud all day. Here's what's fascinating, and a little frightening. Studies show that aging not only slows metabolism but also changes how your cells react to preservatives and additives. Those chemicals don't just pass through you anymore. They linger. They accumulate in fatty tissue, in your brain, even in your bones. Over time, they create what I call a toxic echo, an internal residue that keeps triggering inflammation long after the meal is over. That inflammation doesn't always announce itself as pain. Sometimes, it's subtle, stiffness in your hands, slower digestion, a mild headache that seems to come from nowhere. But inside, your cells are fighting. They're overwhelmed by the burden of too much salt, too many artificial additives, too little hydration. It's a slow, quiet battle, one that builds day after day, year after year. Now, I'm not saying you need to fear every can in your pantry. But I am saying it's time to pay attention. Because when your body slows down, you can't afford to give it the same kind of food you gave it decades ago. You have to adapt. You have to feed it with intention. Think about it this way. If your liver is your body's filter, then every chemical you eat is a challenge. Every preservative is one more drop in an already full bucket. Eventually, the bucket spills over, and that's when you start seeing the symptoms no one can quite explain. Blood sugar swings, mood shifts, irregular heartbeats, brain fog, fatigue. It's not just aging. It's the accumulated effect of decades of hidden toxins. And let's not forget the brain. Because what you eat doesn't just affect your waistline, it affects your mind. High sodium, high preservative foods can constrict blood flow to the brain, reducing oxygen delivery and impairing cognitive function. That's why some seniors start noticing more forgetfulness, more confusion, more off days, not realizing it could be tied to what's on their plate, not what's in their DNA. But here's the part that breaks my heart. Many of the people who fall into this trap are trying to do the right thing. They choose canned vegetables to get more fiber. They pick canned fish for protein. They go for low-fat soups because they think it's better for the heart. They're not careless, they're trusting. And that trust has been betrayed by decades of clever marketing. That's why I speak about this with so much urgency. Because I've seen what happens when people make just a few small changes, when they swap the wrong cans for the right ones, when they hydrate more, when they choose food that loves them back. Within weeks, their blood pressure stabilizes. Their energy lifts. Their thinking clears. It's not magic, it's biology, finally allowed to do its job without interference. So yes, the same can of soup that once comforted you in your 40s can now quietly undermine your health in your 60s. But that also means the power to reverse that damage is in your hands. You don't have to accept fatigue, stiffness, or fog as normal aging. You can reclaim control, one meal, one label, one conscious choice at a time. Because when you understand how your body has changed, you stop feeding it like it's 30, and start nourishing it like it's precious. Because it is. So, let's get specific. Let's open those cans one by one. Let's look beyond the marketing, past the bright colors and health claims, to what's really inside. Because buried in those ingredients lists are the 7 canned foods that are slowly wrecking your body, and 2 that might actually save it. And once you see the difference, you'll never unsee it. Let's open the pantry together, not with fear, but with awareness. Because what's hiding behind those shiny metal cans isn't just convenience, it's chemistry. And for anyone over 60, that chemistry can quietly undo decades of effort, one spoonful at a time. Let's start with the most deceptive one of all, canned soup. You've seen the labels, low fat, heart healthy, homemade taste. But the truth hiding beneath that familiar pop of the lid is something darker. Most canned soups contain more sodium than your heart can handle in an entire day, sometimes over 1,000 milligrams in a single serving. And here's the catch, your kidneys, slower and more sensitive with age, can't flush it out like they used to. That sodium lingers, pulling water into your blood vessels, raising your pressure, straining your heart. You think it's warmth in a bowl, but it's a slow flood from the inside out. I've had patients tell me they felt puffy, tired, short of breath, without realizing their light lunch was actually a salt trap. Now, let's move to something that sounds healthier, canned beans. You might think they're your go-to source of plant protein and fiber. And in theory, they should be. But the problem lies in the brine, that thick, metallic liquid they sit in for months, sometimes years. That brine doesn't just preserve the beans, it leaches out trace heavy metals like aluminum and cadmium from the can itself. Over time, those toxins accumulate in the kidneys, the same organs already fighting to keep up. Add to that the residual BPA that seeps into the mix, and what started as a healthy choice becomes a toxic cocktail. Even rinsing helps, but it doesn't erase what's already dissolved deep into the beans. And then there's the one that breaks my heart the most, canned fruit cocktail. You'd think it's harmless. After all, fruit is supposed to be nature's dessert, right? But once you drown it in syrup, you turn that natural gift into a metabolic nightmare. That syrup, whether labeled light or heavy, is nothing but concentrated sugar. When you pour that over fruit that's already lost most of its fiber during canning, you're left with pure glucose spikes, the kind that age your cells from the inside, feed inflammation, and make your blood sugar harder to control. I've seen people try to replace sweets with canned fruit, thinking they're making the smart choice. But it's like trading one poison for another, the poison of illusion. Now, brace yourself, because we're stepping into the danger zone of canned meats. This is where industrial chemistry meets your dinner plate. Whether it's canned ham, sausages, or corned beef, they all share one deadly secret: nitrites and nitrates. These compounds preserve color and flavor, but inside your body, they can turn into nitrosamines, known carcinogens that attack your cells at the DNA level. Add to that the rancid fats from months of storage, and what you're eating isn't protein, it's inflammation in disguise. These meats don't nourish, they burden. They don't rebuild muscle, they corrode vitality. I've watched cholesterol levels skyrocket and arteries harden from just a little canned meat here and there. It adds up. It always does. Next, canned pasta. Comfort food, right? Quick, filling, and nostalgic. But peel back the label and you'll find a chemical-laden sludge masquerading as sauce. Most canned pasta meals are loaded with high-fructose corn syrup, refined white flour, and artificial stabilizers that your gut can no longer tolerate with ease. Remember, your digestion slows with age, your gut lining becomes more sensitive, and your microbiome, that beautiful ecosystem inside you, reacts sharply to preservatives. Instead of nourishment, you're feeding the bacteria that thrive on processed sugar. The result: bloating, gas, fatigue, and sometimes even low-grade depression. Because when your gut is inflamed, your brain feels it too. Now, let's talk about the one most people never question: canned fish. It's protein, you say. It's omega-3s. And yes, if done right, canned fish can be wonderful. But here's the catch: most of the cheap varieties are packed in low-grade vegetable oil that oxidizes under heat and time. Once oxidized, that oil stops being heart-healthy and starts being inflammatory. And when combined with the BPA lining of the can, it becomes a double hit: hormonal disruption from the BPA, oxidative stress from the rancid oil. What's worse, many of these cans contain trace amounts of mercury and other contaminants from over-processed fish. You think you're feeding your brain, but you might be fogging it instead. And finally, we come to canned vegetables, the silent disappointment. Vegetables should be vibrant, alive, full of enzymes and antioxidants. But when they're sealed in metal, heated to extreme temperatures, and left on a shelf for years, what's left is a ghost of nutrition. The vitamins, especially vitamin C and folate, are destroyed during processing. What remains is fiber stripped of vitality, swimming in sodium and preservatives. Seniors eat them thinking, "At least I'm getting my greens." But what they're really getting is salt water with color. And if you've noticed that metallic aftertaste in canned peas or corn, that's not imagination. That's the flavor of nutrients long gone. The truth is, each of these foods has one thing in common: they promise convenience but steal vitality. They were designed for shelf life, not human life. And as your body matures, it needs less of what's easy and more of what's real. Because every additive, every preservative, every spoonful of excess salt sends a signal to your cells, a signal of stress, of imbalance, of decay. But here's what gives me hope: knowledge reverses damage. The moment you become aware, you begin to heal. You start reading labels differently. You reach for fresh, frozen, or glass-packed options instead. You hydrate more, you cook simply, and your body thanks you for it. Not in weeks, but in days. I've seen it happen: lighter steps, clearer thoughts, calmer blood pressure. So yes, those 7 canned foods might be the quiet culprits behind your fatigue, your swelling, your brain fog. But you're not powerless. You're informed. You're capable. And you're about to discover that not every can is your enemy. Because believe it or not, there are a few hidden gems left on those shelves, foods that not only survive the canning process but still manage to nourish you deeply. So don't close your pantry door just yet. Because next, we'll uncover the 2 rare exceptions, the 2 canned foods that actually deserve a place on your shelf. The ones that still protect your heart, your cells, and your future. And once you know them, you'll never have to second-guess your pantry again. After everything we've uncovered so far, the salt traps, the chemical soups, the heavy metal brines, you might be thinking, so is everything in a can bad for me? Not quite. Take a breath. Because the truth is, not every can is the enemy. There are a few, just a precious few, that still honor your health, still deliver real nutrition, and still deserve a place in your pantry. And when you choose them wisely, they can do something extraordinary: protect your cells, strengthen your heart, and even slow the clock of aging itself. Let's start with one of my absolute favorites: canned salmon, but not just any kind. I'm talking about wild-caught salmon packed in water, stored in BPA-free cans. This is the kind that doesn't hide behind fancy flavors or suspicious oils. It's clean, simple, and potent. Every flaky bite carries omega-3 fatty acids, the same ones your brain depends on to stay sharp, your heart needs to beat rhythmically, and your joints crave for flexibility. These fats don't just nourish, they repair. They literally rebuild the fatty walls of your brain cells, helping you think clearer, remember better, and feel more emotionally steady. And here's what most people don't realize. After 60, your body becomes less efficient at producing or converting omega-3s. That means you need them more than ever. Fresh fish is fantastic, but it's not always available, affordable, or safe from contaminants. That's where high-quality canned salmon shines. It's accessible, shelf-stable, and still brimming with the same protective nutrients nature intended. In fact, studies have shown that the calcium in canned salmon, thanks to those soft, edible bones, can actually help maintain bone density, something most seniors desperately need. It's one of the few canned foods that gives back instead of taking away. But let's be clear, not all salmon is created equal. The difference between wild-caught and farm-raised is the difference between medicine and harm. Wild salmon swims free, feeding on natural sources rich in antioxidants like astaxanthin, which gives that beautiful coral hue. Farmed salmon, on the other hand, is often fed processed pellets, packed in oils that oxidize over time. And if that fish ends up in a can with cheap oil and a BPA lining, all its natural gifts are lost. So when you choose canned salmon, always read the label. Look for wild-caught, packed in water, and BPA-free can. That 1 minute of mindfulness can protect your heart for years. Now, the second safe canned hero might surprise you. Canned tomatoes, but again, the clean, no salt, no preservative kind. Tomatoes are one of the few foods that actually become more nutritious when cooked and canned properly. The reason is lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that protects your cells from oxidative damage, supports prostate and breast health, and even keeps your skin youthful by shielding it from UV damage. And here's the fascinating part: lycopene's bioavailability, meaning how well your body can absorb it, increases when tomatoes are heated. So while raw tomatoes are wonderful, the canned version, when pure and additive-free, gives your body a form of lycopene it can truly use. Think about that for a moment. In a world where most canned foods lose nutrients, this one actually gains potency. It's like a secret ally in your kitchen, waiting quietly on your shelf, ready to guard your cells from aging and inflammation. And for seniors, that's no small thing. Chronic inflammation, the silent thief of vitality, underlies almost every disease of aging: heart disease, arthritis, Alzheimer's. Lycopene helps fight that. It's a natural internal sunscreen for your arteries and your brain. But here's where we must still be cautious. Many brands add unnecessary sodium, citric acid, or preservatives that blunt the benefits. And the can itself matters. BPA-free is non-negotiable. You don't want your heart-healthy tomatoes swimming in a chemical that mimics estrogen and disrupts your hormones. Choose glass jars or trusted brands that clearly state, no salt added, and BPA-free. That small difference transforms a risky pantry item into a genuine superfood. So why do I share this with such conviction? Because too many seniors are living in quiet confusion, afraid of everything, trusting nothing. You deserve better than fear. You deserve clarity. It's not about cutting everything out or living in restriction. It's about understanding the difference between what harms and what heals. When you know that a can of salmon can strengthen your heart, or that a can of tomatoes can protect your cells, food stops being frightening, it becomes empowering again. And here's the beauty of awareness. Once you learn to spot the good, you'll naturally begin to reject the bad. You'll reach for that BPA-free can of salmon and feel a quiet confidence knowing you're nourishing your mind and memory. You'll simmer those clean tomatoes into a soup or sauce and feel your body thank you with energy and clarity. This is how real health works, not through fear, but through informed choices that accumulate over time. So yes, there are safe canned foods. They are the exceptions that prove the rule: that food isn't your enemy, ignorance is. Once you know what to avoid and what to embrace, every meal becomes a chance to rebuild instead of erode. Because after 60, your body isn't fragile, it's wise. It listens. It responds to every choice you make, every bite you take. Feed it wisely, and it will thank you not just with years, but with quality. Sharper thoughts, steadier steps, calmer mornings. These two canned foods, humble, unassuming, sitting quietly on your shelf, can remind you of something vital. Health doesn't come from fear. It comes from awareness. And awareness, once you have it, changes everything. So keep those two in your kitchen, proudly. They're not just safe. They're smart. And they just might be your secret weapon for aging stronger, longer, and better than anyone ever told you was possible. Pause for a moment. Think about the meals you've shared over the years, the laughter around the table, the quick dinners on busy nights, the comforting soups that saw you through storms. Food has always been more than fuel. It's memory. It's love. It's life itself. But after 60, something changes. Your body becomes more sensitive, more discerning, more honest about what it can handle. And the truth is, every single bite you take from here on out has power. It either fuels your life or quietly drains it. That's not a warning, it's an awakening. Because awareness isn't meant to make you fearful, it's meant to make you free. Free from the illusion that convenience equals nourishment. Free from the habit of trusting labels that were never written with your best interest in mind. Free from the slow poison of sodium, preservatives, and chemicals that dull your energy and rob you of vitality. This, right now, is the moment you take back your kitchen. And I mean that literally. Go to your pantry. Open the doors. Look at those cans not with guilt, but with new eyes. You now know which ones are quietly working against you, and which two rare heroes deserve a place on your shelf. This isn't about throwing everything away, it's about replacing the silent destroyers with the foods that help your body heal, restore, and thrive. Because you're not just surviving your 60s, you're redefining them. I've seen it countless times, the spark that returns when someone stops letting marketing make their choices. The blood pressure that stabilizes, the energy that returns, the face that suddenly looks 10 years lighter. It's not magic. It's biology responding to care. When you remove what harms and nourish what heals, your body thanks you in ways that words can't capture. The morning stiffness softens. The fog lifts. The anxiety quiets. You feel yourself again, stronger, clearer, alive. And maybe this video opened your eyes, not just to the dangers of canned foods, but to the incredible control you still have over your health. If it did, then take one simple step right now. Hit that like button. Not just because it helps the channel, but because it tells the world you care about truth over trends. Share this video with someone you love, someone who still believes that canned means convenient, that low-fat means healthy, that age means decline. Because it doesn't. Not anymore. You have the power to rewrite that story. To show that 60 is not the beginning of the end, it's the start of living smarter. You've earned the right to age with strength, grace, and clarity. And every choice you make in your kitchen brings you closer to that version of yourself, the one who wakes up energized, thinks sharply, moves easily, and looks forward instead of looking back. And if you're ready to keep learning, to keep protecting your body and sharpening your mind with real science and simple truths, then subscribe. Subscribe not just for another video, but for a community that believes aging is not decline, it's evolution. I create these videos to give you more than information. I want to give you transformation. Tools that help you live longer, yes, but also live better. Because here's the truth that every senior deserves to hear. Your best years aren't behind you. They're waiting, quietly, on the other side of your next good choice. Maybe it starts with swapping that canned soup for something fresh. Maybe it starts with choosing BPA-free tomatoes instead of processed pasta sauce. Or maybe, it simply starts with this, the decision to care. So take back your kitchen. Take back your health. Take back your life. Because you still have time to write a stronger, sharper, longer chapter, and it begins with what's on your plate. And remember, every meal is a message to your body. Let yours say this: I'm still here, I'm still strong, and I'm not done yet.